Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Long Shot podcast. It's officially a trilogy, and we are here and we're back again.
We're back. We are back. I think we've had some feedback that maybe we need to work on our intro. Dunk, I think the hello and welcome has some legs, but I'm going to ask you to bring a little more energy.
That can be done. That can be worked in. As we've discussed many times on this podcast, that it's still a work in progress and that it's far from a finished product. So, I was more expecting the constructive criticism to come from listeners and viewers, not my own co-host. I thought we'd kind of be in this together, in the trenches together, but that's okay.
I'm relaying feedback.
Fair enough. Episode 3. Also, we are recording on Tuesday, which marks the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Kobe, also his daughter Gigi, and 7 others in the tragic helicopter accident that we've all now come to remember. I'll certainly never forget where I was when I first heard the news, but just wanted to commemorate him by just acknowledging, the 1 year of all of their passing, and obviously the impact that he left on all of sports, but particularly the basketball world.
Yeah, I think, you're closer to this than I am, obviously, but from afar, it's just amazing to see all of the support and well wishes and rest in peace and all that's all over social media from people that knew Kobe really well, but also people that didn't know him at all. It just shows the impact that he had on everyone, and I think that's just it's really special.
Yeah, I never had the opportunity, obviously, to compete against him or ever meet him. But one of the reasons why I hold Kobe so near and dear to my heart is that, particularly at a younger age, it was almost as if he made being obsessed over something that was really cool and acceptable. And that, when I was young and growing up and falling in love with basketball and wanting to spend all these hours in the gym, it was like an example of what that really looked like at the highest level, in that if you were to be able to do that and sustain that over time, obviously I was never going to be Kobe Bryant to that level, but I could master something. I could master what I believe to be my craft the same way that everybody saw him master his craft over, his tenure in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Mamba mentality. I saw that all over Twitter today, and I think that continues to be a message that people are going to push is Mamba mentality. So I want to ask, we're now, like you said, we're on trilogy. This is episode 3. Are you, how we feeling? How we feeling now that we talked to Alex earlier today? So we're, kind of wrapping up episode 3 now. Where's your comfort level? If we had to look back on the last 3, how we feel we're rolling so far?
We're getting there. Definitely it's starting to normalize a little bit, having my own podcast. I've felt an outpour of support. Even from, for example, in the hotel when we were on the road, one of the hotel workers acknowledged that I now have a podcast, which I was appreciative of, that he was a listener. So I don't really know how many listeners we have exactly. I don't get that type of analytical feedback. I think that's more your world, or maybe you don't have that information either. But I know for sure that we have somebody that is working in the JW Marriott in Tampa Bay that listens.
And hey, that's enough.
Honestly, yeah. So I can't remember your name, but appreciate you at least tuning in. But no, I think the comfort level is growing every interview, every episode, and I think it'll just continue to develop over time.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So like you said, you were just in a hotel, you were on a long road trip. I'm curious now with COVID protocols, what does that look like? You guys were on the road for a week, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're not allowed to really leave your hotel at all other than to get tested. So what's that look like? What are you doing to pass the time? How is your mental health in that week?
It's definitely a challenge. One of my favorite things about the travel in the NBA was that I would always go out to dinner in the cities. Sometimes I would literally just go out by myself. Sometimes I'd go with teammates. My favorite was when I had a friend in the city that I could connect with, somebody that I normally wouldn't get to see. And we would able, go out and grab a bite. So that now obviously is not happening. Basically, we're just in our hotels, and you use any excuse you can to get out. We had like an optional shoot around one of the days, and just whatever you can whatever you can find to get out of those four walls, because I've learned that, being surrounded by the same four walls, I think everyone's probably learned it in some extent in quarantine, just with everything going on, but it's certainly a challenge. And, Coach Spo always preaches to us the importance of, if you're going to be in your room all day, at least challenging yourself or exercising your mind in some way, reading. So I've been trying to read more, do different things instead of just, sitting on my phone or watching Netflix.
So you saying that just reminded me of a story I want to quickly tell. You trying to link up with friends in cities when you're on the road takes me back to your two-way year where you were bouncing back and forth from the Heat in Sioux Falls, and you played at the Garden in New York City. And this was early in the season. Like, this was one of your first games up with the Heat. And I happened to be in New York City. So we tried to connect after the game, but it was a late game. So I think you weren't ready to meet up until like midnight, and you guys had lost, and you got to play a little bit, and you felt like you didn't play that well. Yeah. So we were trying to connect, and we ended up meeting at Tao, right?
Yeah. So basically it was exactly that. We played the Knicks. We lose to the Knicks. We have a night, we stay over the night in New York, and the next day we have an off day. It's a Saturday night in New York, mind you. We get back to the hotel super late. I actually went and grabbed dinner with Ryan Anderson. We just grabbed dinner quickly, and then I was going to meet up with you and another friend of ours. And you guys were at Tao, the restaurant Tao, mind you.
Yeah,
the restaurant.
Yeah, right.
The restaurant Tao. So I catch an Uber over there. I think it was like maybe a little past midnight.
Yeah.
And I'm texting you like, I don't know, guys. Like, I think I should just go back and go to sleep. And you're like, no, come on. Like, come on through, whatever. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I pull up to Tal. I get out of the Uber. I randomly see a staff member of ours, our shooting coach, walking a block across the street. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. Like, a good thing I kind of missed him. I can just kind of stay anonymous. And then I walk downstairs into Tao, the restaurant, mind you, once again.
The restaurant.
And the entire Miami Heat coaching staff is walking out of Tao. And I am absolutely mortified. I'm so embarrassed that in my first year, I'm basically, the optics of what it looks like is that I'm like having a night out on the town. I'm sure to them, I'm literally like the most innocent thing in the world. I'm going to see my friends. We're going to like basically, drink water and catch up, like just the most innocent thing in the world. And I am so embarrassed to be seeing them. They ask me like, hey, Duncan, what's up? They don't think anything of it. Like, hey, Duncan, what's up? And I literally don't even know what to say. I freeze. I'm like, I'm just going to see my friends. And they're like, dude, we didn't even ask. Like, we don't care. Like, it was just so hard for me to wrap my mind around that. I go and sit down and have dinner with you guys, and I'm a mess. I'm like, dude, this is over. Like, I'm going to get cut. They don't think I take my work seriously. This is it. We're done. We had a good run. I played a couple games for the Heat, and that's it. And yeah, I was just in absolute shambles.
I will never forget the look on your face when you walked in. Because you're right. We were drinking water, sitting at the table waiting for you. And you came in like a deer in the headlights. You sat down and you said exactly, you were like, guys, I think I should leave. I don't think I should be here. I just saw the whole coaching staff. They think I'm partying. Like, you were freaking out. And we tried to talk you down or off the ledge. We were like, hey, they're here too. Like, what, it's fine. This is what NBA guys do, I think. We don't know. We're not in the league. But I just remember trying to calm you down and you being so worried. Because you're right. There was no foul play involved, but you were worried about the optics.
It's tough because I came from a program in Michigan where everything was micromanaged. We had check-ins, we had bedtime, you had to be in your room. And the world of like the freedom that comes with the NBA was like such a foreign concept to me. So I felt like I had broken curfew. There's no curfew in the NBA. Like, it's grown men. But like I couldn't wrap my mind around that. And then the other side of it was, of course, Chris Quinn, who's obviously on our staff, but also, a close friend of mine, at that point realized that I was freaking out about it. And the next day we're getting on the plane and he stops me as I'm walking by him, and the whole staff is right there again. And he's like, what's up, Duncan? Like, you don't take your career seriously? What, you're just gonna go out partying the night before? Like, what? I'm like, it was an off day. Like, I'm like stuttering. I was just seeing my friends. Like, we weren't doing anything. He's like, He's like, dude, relax. Like, I'm just giving you a hard time. Like, nobody cares. But to the point where, like, I remember the next morning after running into them, calling my mom and being like, Mom, like, this might be it. Like, I might get cut. Like, we had a good run. Like, it's over. But it's just so funny. Like, I was just so... It's just sensitive. Like I was just so concerned about like that I needed to come across as this like incredibly hard worker, and that I was handling all my business, and I wasn't, you never needed to worry about any of that off the court stuff. But yeah, just a funny story. I appreciate you bringing that up. That was like a nightmare of a night in New York City.
Yeah, look at you now. All right, a couple quick things that I saw in the news this week that I want to get your reaction on. First is word on the street is that American Airlines Arena in Miami is going to start using dogs to detect COVID. Because I think, so fans are going to start coming to games in Miami, 2,000 maybe. So limited capacity still. And they're saying that they have trained dogs who are going to screen people entering the arena. These dogs are trained to smell COVID. What do you think about that?
COVID sniffing dogs. I actually had the early scoop on this about a month back, and I sent it to our group chat, and you guys all thought it was a joke. So I am certainly getting the last laugh on this one. Supposedly they're 94% accurate. I don't know where the 94 comes in. I don't know how they have the scientific research to support that. But that's what I've heard. So, maybe this is a trend-setting thing that the Heat are now doing, and that the entire league soon will be full of COVID sniffing dogs. I hope that it does, if that means more fans can come.
Here's my question, and I don't mean to demean the effort here, because I think it's important to make sure that people with COVID aren't coming into the arena. But 94% efficiency or accuracy means that there are people who are going to get accused of having COVID that might not have it and then not get to come to the game. That might be an issue that we face. I'm not in charge of it, so I don't have a solution, but just a concern.
Well, it's a risky run, Dave. We're in a global pandemic. Not everything's going to be perfect. If there's 6 out of 100 people that maybe get falsely screened as having COVID, that's how it goes. Maybe they get correctly screened of having COVID, and that helps stop the spread. Maybe these dogs are saving lives. I seem to think that they are.
All right, fair. I'll give that one to you. All right, next thing I want to congratulate you on is there are rumors. I don't know if this is confirmed, but there are rumors that you're included in the 60-player pool for Team USA for the upcoming Olympics. That's incredible. So again, congratulations. Just, I think, what an honor that you're even considered.
Well, the congratulations seems premature if they're just rumors. I'm unwilling at this point to confirm or deny whether or not they're true. So I think we can just kind of move forward. Our first ever long shot feature is right now. The first ever. We had a bunch of submissions.
Really good ones.
Really appreciate all the participation. Our first long shot feature is Tyler. So let me tell you a little bit about Tyler. At 21 years old, and what was this, 2 years ago, you said? Not even, a year ago.
Maybe the last year. I don't know. Is in the last couple of years.
At 21 years old, Tyler was 300 pounds and working for a fast food restaurant. One night he woke up in the middle of the night with health issues and decided he needed to make a life change. And that he did. He changed his diet, started going to the gym every single day, and regained his love for basketball, which I just love to hear. Yep. And through this work, consistent, diligent work, he's now down to 160 pounds in less than a year, I think.
Damn. Yep.
And it doesn't stop there. He's actually playing in an amateur basketball league in Poland. He's the love of the game.
And he sent us pictures with his story. And he looks like a hooper. I think he even sent a stat line, 20 points, 4 or 5 threes. Love it.
Wow. You just love to see that type of perseverance. Certainly a long shot to go from 300 pounds to now serving, not fries, but serving buckets to all those people over there in Poland. Shout out to Tyler for that one. Our next segment we got is, of course, the Reddit question of the day. We got a mixed bag of feedback for the Van Fleet Kyle Lowry. So I think we're going to take a little bit more serious of a tone for this one. We might dive into something a little bit more quirky in the future, but for this one, going to be a little bit more serious. What do we got, Dave?
Yeah, this was a point of contention between us. I was a big fan of the hypothetical two guys standing on each other's shoulders. Some people weren't. That's all right. We figured it was going to be a little bit polarizing. We gotta test the water a little bit.
Yeah,
but
stick your toe in.
All right, we got a good one this week. This comes from Explorer17156 on NBA Reddit, and he asks, or she asks, what's the most goosebumps-inducing NBA moment for you? So I'm curious to get your take on this because this could be as a player or as a fan. Is there one that stands out above the rest?
I'm gonna put my fan hat on for a second, and also given that today, like we had said, is the 1 year anniversary of Kobe's passing, I'm gonna say Kobe's last game in Staples against the Jazz, to go for 60 like that. I remember watching that and just being like, every time he touched the ball, it was like the ultimate can't miss TV. It's like, what's going to happen next? And of course, you literally could not write a better script of how just an absolute legend like him could end his NBA career. So I just remember watching that and just being glued to the TV and just like having goosebumps of like, wow, this is really happening.
Yeah. When I was thinking of this question, that is certainly one moment that came to mind. There were a couple. I'm going to go Clay's 37 and a quarter. I went back and watched this morning. I went back and watched those highlights on YouTube, and there's a specific moment where he hits a corner three, a tough corner three for 32 in the quarter. And the Kings weren't calling timeouts through this stretch. Yeah. So he just got so hot. He just kept hitting shots. When he hit the 3 for 32, they finally called a timeout. And players, both on the Kings and the Warriors, like I remember Steph and Draymond just standing under the basket, hands on their head, like looking up at the sky, like what is happening? It was amazing to see professional basketball players react the same way that fans were. Just like, this is insane. No one had ever seen anything like it. 37 and a quarter, just remarkable.
Yeah, unfortunately, my Michigan brethren in Nick Stauskas was on the receiving end, I think, of at least 20 of those. Yeah, but I mean, to no fault of his. I mean, that guy was just in a different sort of zone.
Correct. We get into this a little bit with Alex, but there are certain guys that when you guard, you can do a great job defensively. You can do everything you're supposed to do, and offense just sometimes is too good.
Exactly.
And that's a perfect example of that.
They're the best players in the world for a reason. Not much you can do. Just be solid and try to make them miss, but after you do that, hope that they miss. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we got. I want to get to our conversation with Alex, but before we do, I'm curious, Dunk, if you had to describe the discussion we had with him in one word, what would it be?
I got inspirational. Caruso is very fitting for this podcast. A great second guest. His story, everything he stands for. I think you guys will really enjoy the conversation because that's what I think it is. I don't think it's an interview. I think it's a conversation. So inspirational would be my word to describe our discussion with Alex.
Couldn't agree more. So we'll get to our inspirational discussion with Alex.